Hello, I'm Dr. Trevor Creed. In Chiron Healing, we teach that actual healing is self-healing. The question is then asked, how do I activate my own self-healing? For this, we have developed the 4-step self-healing method that I will demonstrate today. Step 1 is clearing. This is to clear all negative to health energies from the aura or energy pattern. Visualize a source of white light, we call it the universal white light, above your head, and use a sweeping motion with both your hands from under your feet to over your head, joining your hands together at the top. Ask that these negatives be bound to the white light. If you don't bind them to the light, then they are free to drift onto someone else. Words can be useful too. If there is anything negative within my aura or surrounds, please pass and bind them to the power of white. Raise and bind to the light all negatives. This may be said out loud or to yourself. Step 2 is protection. Again, you may visualize a universal white light of protection covering you totally, or you may use words. I like Isabel Hickey's robe of light verse. I clothe myself in a robe of light composed of the love, power and wisdom of God, not only for my own protection, but so that all those who see it and come into contact with it are drawn to God and healed. Step 3 and 4 involve stating to yourself that you are opening up to heal, so that you can reach up and out of self to bring in the healing energies to complete these steps. Step 3 is bringing your multiple personalities together. These are scattered energies caused by conflict of mind and intuition, or an overactive mind scattered in multiple directions. At the level of your head, extend your arms out to the side, palms facing forward. Draw your hands together, bringing the MPs together and sealing them on all levels as you come in. If you have them all, then the palms will come together perfectly. If you need to go back and gather more, then repeat again and again until your hands match perfectly. Step 4 is balancing the pelvis. In my chiropractic practice, it was important for nerve system, muscles and organ systems for the pelvis to be balanced. In our Chiron work, of the 26 levels we work with, we know that levels 1, 3 and 5 provide the energy for the sacrum, sacroiliac and lumbosacral spines to work to their best. So to align all of your personal energy to the force of gravity in the pelvis, we use what we term finger blocking. While standing, using your index and middle fingers of both hands, place the 2 fingers of your left hand on the front of your body on your left hip, and point in the direction of the big toe of your right foot. Put the 2 fingers of your other hand at the back of your body on the right hip, with the pads of your fingers on the body and in the direction of your left heel. Then slightly turn from the waist up to 45 degrees to the right. Your fingers are pointing down into a V with the pads against the body. Now ask for the lower levels to be balanced as you visualize white light coming through your fingers at the same time. Count from 1 to 10. Once completed, ask to close down to keep your energies together. So there it is. I hope you experience ease of any pain or suffering that you may be working through, like I have personally and thousands of others worldwide have too.
I was there in the early days of the development of the Chironic work. In the early 1980s, I helped my father Trevor to transcribe the first manual of the work, the Healing Principles of Chiron. I worked with Jan Thomas as well, Jan Trenorden at the time, on the work of the further Healing Principles of Chiron and other books too. I particularly want to remind you of the verse that is in the further Healing Principles of Chiron. Jan especially channeled Chiron with a message for that book, and I think the time is now for that message to be revisited. I'm going to read it out right now. These are the words of Chiron from the early 1980s. Once I was alone, high up on my mountain. I went there to learn all about the heavens and all about earth and all the spheres in between. When man developed to the stage of asking, he came to my mountain to ask me about many things, and I found in my entirety he could not grasp my meaning. So I removed myself to my thinking place, and I asked the Great One, what should I do? So, with this advice, I removed to the cave deep within my mountain, and split myself into many parts, giving each one their own special talent or strength. And that part of my character needed to apply it and pass it on. In this way, I sent my learning out into the world of man to teach and to instruct, so that with so much less intensity of knowledge, man could grasp the things I had learned. I stayed within my cave in the spirit form, which bound all my knowledge together, living within the half-light of incompletion, until, one by one, my knowledges returned to the cave after finishing their work. In the dawn of time, when the knowledge came together once more, I rose from the cave and returned to my mountain to gather more truth and light for those who would come again to ask questions. For those whom I have taught by many faces have learned, but seek to find out more. So here I stay, halfway between heaven and earth, to help those who would help others. For only those who follow the first two principles of Chiron can find there the light to follow my path. The first principle of Chiron is to care for others. The second is to care for yourself. Why is this global healing event being anchored from where I am here in Warrnambool? Why did Trevor Creed and Jan Thomas meet here, and why did Chiron healing and the Chironic principles emerge from this part of the world? Perhaps it's coincidence. In recent times I've been walking to a place here called Moyjul. Moyjul is the Gunditj Mara name for this local place. I work with a scientist at the university who has been researching this site, and science appears to be confirming, homing in on a date of about 120,000 years of continuous human activity in this site. That's significant. If it is ultimately proven, then that makes a big shift to our understanding of the origins of humans on Earth, and challenges the current worldview of where that happened. Talking to my Gunditj Mara friends, and I acknowledge the elders in this place, there is an accepted knowledge and wisdom of the timelessness of the culture here. As I've been walking and thinking in this place, I've had a sense of something about the DNA of humans, perhaps an origin of the DNA and what may have happened in this part of the world. And I think part of that explains a little as to why the type of healing that has come out of this part of the world and has come to this moment in time, and now the anchor is here for this global healing event. I think part of it is tied up in that explanation. I don't know. It's a blend of science and intuition that leads me to this. But as I'm sitting here discussing, I'm looking at a piece of art that I inherited from my father. It was an artwork completed by Gunditj Mara artist and elder Fiona Clark. It's called Body Map, and it's a representation of the integral connection that a body, an organic body, in this case it's a goanna, and its integral connection with the various aspects of the land. And within that art is a representation of how health and balance is integrally tied to the connections we have with Gaia, with the earth, the landscape, the water, the features. The water is our blood. The trees are our limbs. Those kinds of things. We are the elements and the elements are us. So I think within that is some of the explanations as to why. In the end, I suppose why doesn't really matter. Our job is simply to learn and to heal. So for those fleeting reasons, I think that's why the anchor for this healing day is here in Warrnambool, and why I find myself humbly having to be part of the anchor for the work. But let's move on with the day, and let's reconnect with the etheric energy pattern, the relationship pattern between all of the animals, plants and elements and the humans, and let's see if we can make a difference. I was with my father, Trevor, when he passed back to Source. It was a peaceful time. Only hours earlier he had been working on his own energy pattern. He was in that half consciousness that one enters prior to passing, but he was working on his own energy. It was remarkable. Only a number of months earlier, 3 or 4 months maximum, I was working with him at filming a workshop that he was teaching. The intention was to film a master healer at work, and I have an archive of footage that I will be releasing over the next while. This is one of those clips. It's only a short clip, but it shows how adeptly he could work with energy, and it shows how he, for the purpose of healing, can move an etheric energy pattern from an individual into another space. It's one indication of how distance healing can occur. I want to show that to you just to help explain what is possible and how manipulable the energy pattern is, and how we can do distance healing quite easily if we turn our mind to it. Here's Trevor, the master healer, at work.
So I'll pick the pattern up, stand it in front of me. I come up and out of my third eye, come out, step into the pattern, and now this is going to be on the right line of energy, so I'm going to step over to my left and step into the right line of energy and stay looking at the back of the pattern. Travel down to the bottom of the pattern and work my way up. Yeah, we'll finally have everything flowing smoothly. I step back into the middle of the pattern and step back out of the pattern, come back up into the third eye, pick up the pattern, put it back down.
When a blade of grass grew through the earth, the Intuits would welcome this birth as a birth within themselves. When a new bird hatched The intuits knew it, and they welcomed that birth. When a flower blossomed and opened, each were a blossoming within themselves. For they were not people, they were not plants. They were part of a world. They were part of an element. And you would say, Master, how can that be now? Within most of thee, at some time, thou hast had a feeling that someone thou dost care about is sad, hurt, unhappy. And this beeth the heaviest of that oneness. Some of thee know when those you care about are happy, no matter where they are. That beeth more certain, but thou art remembering. Because thou art still in rest. Thou dost extend thine feeling center to those in thine family, to those in thine love area, love pattern. Sit, if thou wouldst, and hold within thine hand a plant. Taketh not the plant from the earth, but holdeth within thine hands the plant. Be at one, feel the plant. When thou canst sit and be in total oneness with one thing of Gaia, then thou canst be in oneness with all. For if thou canst take within thine feeling center the oneness of the plant dost have roots within Gaia. Gaia has within herself grass, trees, mountains, rivers on her, rivers in her, the veins of life. If thou canst open up, then all of Gaia. And if thou dost have all of Gaia, thou dost have all. For only through one thing of the natural world thou canst have all. And I have said unto thee, take one plant, enter into it, be it. To know an energy, one must first be it. And then I would say unto thee, if thou canst be at one with Gaia, with the universe, through one plant, Why canst thou not be at one with thyself? For thou art Gaia's child. And if thou canst find the means to be at one with Gaia through self, love oneself, and to know the wholeness, why canst thou not get on with thy neighbor? For is not thy neighbor a part of Gaia? In order to reach the ancient world, to reach the world of tomorrow, thou must go within.
The etheric energy blueprint permeates all of life. Individuals have an etheric pattern, animals have one, plants have one, all of the elements on the earth have an etheric energy blueprint. There's an interrelationship that occurs between all living creatures and all of the inanimate elements. The interplay of those relationships forms a pattern as well. So while we have individual entities as animals, as humans, as plants, as mountains, as trees, each of these having their own distinct energy pattern, we are also interconnected and interrelated by the same etheric energy. And it's the interplay of those energies that also contribute to our overall health and well-being. So there's an issue today, a global issue. There is a lot of change going on in the relationships between animals and humans, between humans and plants, between humans and the elements of the earth. There's a variety of complex changes happening. Change in itself need not be unhealthy, but some of the processes of change do need conscious attention. The Chironic principles, the ideas of Chironic healing as they were first established, and as Chiron healing now understands it, can work with that etheric energy blueprint and bring balance back to that energy pattern. The idea is that if the energy pattern blueprint is in balance, flowing well and healthily, that's the precursor for the physical arrangement of elements and relationships to also become healthier. So that's what we do as etheric energy healers. That's the idea that my father Trevor promoted constantly through all of his work in his life. This is what the channel Jan was able to confirm was going on. The subtle energy patterns, the etheric field, does exist, and when you as a healer put your consciousness into that field and help it to return to balance, there is an commensurate ease of pain and suffering that happens in the physical world. So globally we have a problem, things like a virus, things like environmental degradation, all of these things, regardless of who's to blame or what the causes of things are in the physical world, the real cause of dis-at-easement is a lack of attention, conscious attention paid to keeping a balance in the etheric energy pattern blueprint that exists within and around and through all of us and the planet. So this is our opportunity. As healers, use your modality, use your knowledge of Chironic ideas, Chironic principles, and as we know, the etheric energy pattern exists at a level outside of space-time. So healing at a distance is entirely feasible. As you put your mind, your consciousness, and your feeling centers into healing and balancing etheric energy, you can do that from within your cave. So the archetype of Chiron, the wounded healer in a cave, coming out to teach, to heal, to remedy, is the archetype that is behind Chironic principles, behind Chiron healing. And it interconnects with all of the great philosophies of healing, the arts and teaching. So you have all been brought up in your own world ideas, in your own philosophies. None of those are inconsistent with the ideas of being a Chironic type of healer. So this is your chance. Distance healing. Bring the pattern in. Let's count the pattern in, and let's heal the relationships, the energy relationship, the etheric energy relationship pattern that is existing now, that is under some stress. That pattern that fills the spaces between humans and animals and plants and elements. Put your mind into that. We will count in. We'll count in up to 10, and then we will do our healing from where we are, in our places, in our spaces, and then we will count back out after a number of minutes of healing. You can bring in whichever part of the pattern that is relevant for you. We'll be counting in this idea of a relationship pattern, but you will find yourself intuitively working in some cases quite specific parts of it, maybe with individual energy entities, a human or an animal or a plant or an element. Or you may find yourself traversing a wide set of relationships occurring between groups of humans, animals and plants and elements. That is for you to determine in your consciousness as you work through the energy healing that you do using the Chironic principles. Now, understand that you have protected and cleared and balanced yourself. You've built the energy and you're ready to heal. I will count in 1 to 10, and Source will allocate to you the appropriate part of the etheric pattern that will be your responsibility to heal. I will count to 10, and then you can pause this video and complete your healing. When you've completed your work on the pattern, press play again, and I will count you back in, count the pattern back to its rightful location. Ready to count in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have the appropriate part of the pattern now. I'll ask you to pause the video and then play again once you've finished your healing, at which point we will count back. Thank you for your healing. Let's count the pattern back to its rightful position. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember to close down your third eye and any other energy centers that may have contributed. But we thank you for your healing.